Is this on?
Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Horan, and I'm the Executive Director of AIDS Project in Rhode Island. And I'm pleased to be here with my good friend Paul Fitzgerald, who is the Executive Director of AIDS Care Ocean State.
Thank you.
And I'm here to tell you why I am strongly opposed to this bill. Additionally, I've submitted a letter to this committee in opposition to the bill from Drs. Jody Rich and Tim Flanagan, two nationally recognized experts on HIV treatment and prevention. And I've also submitted a letter in opposition from the Positive Women's Network USA, the preeminent national network of women living with HIV. First, I want to let you know that I'm HIV positive and have been since 1986. I've also spent most of my career working in government, many years in Washington, D.C. for Republican U.S. Senators John Chafee, Senator Lincoln Chafee, and more recently, I think some of you have seen me around here working for Governor Chafee. Throughout all of that time, I've been very open about my HIV status, and I've also talked to the press, and I've worked diligently to develop and support public policies that help prevent HIV transmission. I'm not sure where or why this bill came into being. I've just heard Representative's explanation, but I have to say it is very distressing, and its passage would represent a backward step in a time when Rhode Island is making tremendous strides in reducing HIV transmission through better education and increased testing of at-risk populations. I can understand the good intention behind this bill if it is the belief that it will reduce HIV transmission. Unfortunately, it's far more likely to do just the opposite by making those at greatest risk of having HIV afraid to come forward and get tested or the treatment they need. This bill would only prosecute people with HIV who have taken a responsible step and gotten tested, privileging the ignorance of not knowing one's HIV status. Under this statute, ignorance of one's HIV status is the best defense. We don't want the message on the streets to be, take the test and risk arrest. Criminalizing HIV in this fashion is a throwback to an earlier time in the epidemic, when we actually knew far less about the actual roots, risks, and consequences of HIV transmission. To pass such legislation today is to heighten stigma, defining people with HIV as such a threat to society, people like me, such a danger to our population, that we need to have a special law that applies only to us. Today we have effective drugs that not only have saved my life, but also now enable those diagnosed today to be able to expect to live a normal lifespan. Moreover, we now know that effective treatment reduces the risk of HIV transmission dramatically. In many cases, the risk is so remote that it cannot be measured or even proven that a risk exists. At AIDS Project Rhode Island, one of our most urgent priorities is to reduce the risk of HIV. We do this with an extensive statewide testing program that is growing every day. We test at our offices, community events, and on every college campus in the state. In the past year, we've tested over 1,000 Rhode Islanders, and those who tested positive, we immediately linked to care. If this bill becomes law, it will make our job of prevention vastly more difficult. I think what the bill's co-sponsors are trying to say is something we all agree on, which is that no person should knowingly put another person at risk of harm. We don't need to create a special law that ultimately makes the problem worse, stigmatizes people with HIV, and creates a viral underclass in the law. HIV, as you know, isn't the only sexually transmitted infection which, if left untreated, can seriously harm or even kill a person. But it is the only virus singled out for this type of legislation because it is particularly associated with stigmatized communities, people of color, gay men, and injection drug users. In short, no matter how well-intentioned, this bill is unnecessary, highly stigmatizing, counterproductive, and threatens to undermine the amazing work that our state health department, our medical community, and our AIDS service and community organizations have done to promote HIV testing and effective prevention priorities. It should be opposed by all who care about public health in Rhode Island. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, Mr. Horan?